Serving Amherst and Amherst Township, your hometown television station, Amherst City Cable.
We'll call the regular meeting of the council to order at 7:30 on May 27th. Roll call.
Mr. Van Churen.
Here.
Mrs. Wasilk.
Here.
Mr. Winarski.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Janik.
Here.
Mr. Bukovac.
Here.
Mr. Goodell.
Here.
Lady, motion to excuse Mr. Winarski.
I'd like to ask how we excuse President Dietrich from this evening's meeting.
Mr. Janik.
Second.
There's an motion and a second to excuse President Dietrich from the evening, this meeting this evening. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion is carried 7-0. Will you please stand with me? And after the invocation, Sergeant at Arms Bukovac will lead the pledge to the flag. Gracious God, bless this meeting tonight. Guide, guard, and direct us in all that we say and do. This week we pray a special blessing of remembrance as we honor all those who've sacrificed so much for the love of our great nation. We also pray for those who influenced each of us and helped to shape our lives as loyal, hardworking citizens. Bless us all this evening. And now may the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will go to item 4, the consent agenda.
Minutes of the regular council meeting held May 12, 2014, and minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held May 27, 2014.
Mr. Van Troop.
Move to accept the consent agenda as read.
Mr. Goodell.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as read. Voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Consent agenda is accepted 7-0. Item number 5, acknowledgement of the public pertaining to items on the agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on any item on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we will go to item 6, ordinances and resolutions, first reading. Item A.
An ordinance reappropriating funds in various accounts and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Goodell.
I move to take item 6A, suspend council rules so that item 6A may be passed on its first reading and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Janik.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules so that item 6A can be passed on the first reading. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Van Churen.
Yes.
Mrs. Wasilk.
Yes.
Mr. Winarski.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Janik.
Yes.
Mr. Bukovac.
Yes.
Mr. Goodell.
Yes.
Mr. Winarski.
Move to adopt.
Mr. Miller.
Second, please.
There's a motion and a second to adopt. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Van Churen.
Yes.
Mrs. Wasilk.
Yes.
Mr. Winarski.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Janik.
Yes.
Mr. Bukovac.
Yes.
Mr. Goodell.
Yes.
My motion carries 7-0.
It will be ordinance O-14-26.
We go on to item 7, ordinances and resolutions, second reading. There are none. Proceed to item 8, ordinances and resolutions, third reading. There is one item, 8A.
An ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with the Lorraine County Port Authority's Land Bank Program through the Lorraine County Land Reutilization Corporation for the abatement of blighted and abandoned properties in the city of Amherst.
Mr. Van Tru,
Move to adopt.
Mr. Goodell.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Van Kuren,
Yes.
Mrs. Vasilk,
Yes.
Mr. Winarski.
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Janik,
Yes.
Mr. Bukovac,
Yes.
Mr. Goodell.
Yes.
It'll be ordinance O-14-27.
That completes item 8. We go to item 9, miscellaneous, and acknowledgement of the public on any item. We have guests tonight, Mr. and Mrs. Newberry. You wish to speak on a matter. Does one of you want to
Yes.
speak? Okay, Mrs. Newberry, when you go up to the microphone, you state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name's Robin Newberry, and we just purchased a home at 150 Orchard Hill. So our backyard is the parking lot of the pool at Watt Heating. Just to kind of get a little guideline on where that's at. I'm obviously here to speak about the flood. Obviously the only one here to speak about the flood. But I guess my main concern comes with, first of all, to acknowledge the service people of the city of Amherst and Dustin and Doug, who came to our house on Friday and started evaluating everything because of the phone calls that we've made. Very polite, very professional individuals. So first of all, thank you for employing such good people. The next thing is we want to do whatever's possible to prevent the 13 inches of water that was in our basement. We have a 1,400 square foot basement that we would like to buy. Again, we just bought our home in January. It was coming in through our floor drains. We have a sump pump. The sump pump operated. We had 4 pumps going in our basement that could not keep up with the water. The first flood happened as soon as we got home. We saw it, started pumping it out, got it cleaned out, started cleaning. Here comes the second round, then the third round. So it wasn't just a one-time deal. Looking back at because of course we want to get bad and find somebody to blame. You guys were first on the list, of course, but looking, was this disclosed in our homeowners? Yes, back in 2011, they had an issue. They redid the piping going to the street. They do have a backflow. We found it, we pulled it, it wasn't blocked. You know, we're doing everything on our end. My concern is, what is the city gonna do on our end to help myself, you know, my husband and I, the other city residents that are here that got the water damage. 13 inches of water, that's just crazy. You know, we lost our deep freezer. Thankfully enough, we do have shelving. We didn't, you know, we lost a couple of personal items because initially we were told it was sewage. So we've set everything that had gone into the curb to come out and find out on Friday that it wasn't sewage. It was stormwater. So that's reassuring to know that our house wasn't flooded with sewage, and I don't have to pay somebody to come out and make sure that we're bacteria free and that, you know, the bleach we used down there was adequate. My family's not gonna get sick from bacteria from sewage. That's great. But the other thing that, you know, the city workers found was, you know, they dye tested all of our drains. Everything is doing what it should be. When they scoped the lines, they did find that the storm line is 12 inches round, okay? And it was 50 to 75% filled with water. No rain. This was Friday again. We've been pretty dry. And that pipe is still filled with water, which tells any average person that knows anything about things draining, there's a blockage. The water isn't going somewhere for a reason. So, you know, I guess we're here today, you know, I'm a concerned citizen. I want to know that I can start using, you know, my basement. I can start, you know, planning for things in the future. And I can't do that knowing that seeing that it's that filled, any amount of rain in excess could create this situation. This isn't a once in 100 years thing. This happened in 2011. You know, hearsay, according to my neighbors, it happens just about once a year in our neighborhood. So then my next concern to the city is, engineering-wise, is a 12-inch line in our neighborhood adequate? Does something need to be reconfigured to make sure that the flow is appropriate, that everybody's tied in where they should be tied in? You know, I'm looking to the city to, what is our next step? What is our next step as a community to help ensure that the residents aren't going to have to keep experiencing this? I want to know that I didn't buy a house that's not in a flood zone that's going to flood annually on me. Or anytime we get, now I get it, it was a huge storm. It was in excess of, what, 3 to 5 inches of rain that we got in a very small amount of time. I get that. I really do. You know, I'm not here to harp on anything you guys don't already understand. I'm here to say, what are we going to do next?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I've been through this time and time again. And where do I start? We are aware of the problems, various problems we have had throughout the city. And quite frankly, we could have spent $40 million on this last rain. We are still flooded. And you can't, you can't design a sewer big enough to handle those kind of rains. So to handle those kinds of rains, there's not much we can do. However, we do recognize there's a problem. We just spent $2 million on a project which intercepts some of the water. It wouldn't affect you, but we just spent $2 million on an interceptor where we intercept all the water flowing north from the south, stormwater I'm talking about now, and going into the creek. Fortunately, that really worked. We I don't know what would have happened if all that water that we intercepted during those rains would have gone north. It would be terrible. Now, I don't, did you live where Walters used to live?
Yeah.
Yes,
Dennis
yes.
Walters? Dennis Waller has had water ever since I've been here. And it's not all the city's fault. And the fact of the matter is that we'll come back and look at it. And we'll look at the, I'll send the sewer crew back. We'll look at those lines again. We'll look at I'll ask them the question because I didn't, this is the first time I've heard about you say that line being flowing all the time at 3/4 full. I haven't heard that comment before.
Yeah, that's what they found
So
on
let me
Friday.
check that out. And what is that address? I know where the house is. But
Yeah, 150 Orchardville.
well, let me send the guys back to you. Now, let's go to throughout the city. Last year, we had a meeting, or 2 years ago, where we estimated to fix every sewer, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer in the city would cost over $40 million. We don't have that kind of money. So what we agreed to do is we're looking at it, this was phase 1 here. We spent $2 million of our money to do this storm. And that's done the job. But we don't have any more local money to fix anything. Small jobs we can handle through our rate structure. But if we want to go big time, we're going to have to borrow 5 or 10 or whatever $1 million we decide, council and myself decide we want to borrow, and then we're going to have to prioritize those items. Quite frankly, we don't have a quick fix. And this is, people don't like to hear that, but the fact of the matter is that's the way it is. So we as a group have to decide, number one, hopefully we'll do it this year, decide how much money we're going to borrow, how we're going to pay for it, and then prioritize our areas where people get the worst flooding. And quite frankly, I can't tell you exactly what areas they are, but we're very aware of the problem. We're concerned about it. If one person gets water in their basement, it's too much, and I agree with that. But the fact of the matter is, again, we could have spent all that money the last time it rained and nothing would have helped.